Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Unturned Podcast. I'm your host, Charles, and we're joined by nobody this episode because this is the last episode. Happy New Year. This will be posted in a year. I'm currently recording this on the 26th, and none of my co-hosts know that I'm recording this episode. Before I get into anything, I want to thank all of my co-hosts over the 2 years we've been doing this show. And I want to thank as well Ente, Flodo, for being such great artists and being, on top of things whenever I ask them. And of course, being some really great people to work with over the course of the show's run. Along with that, also like to thank all of my guests that have shown up for this, this show. I don't think I was ever told by anyone that I was not, that they weren't going to be on the show whenever I asked them. Everyone was always interested and always was happy to come along onto the show. And I really appreciate everyone for entrusting me that I wasn't going to try to, ruin them on an episode, or believing that it was in good faith that I was asking them to come on, and they showed up and were on time for the show, unlike a lot of my hosts. So maybe I'm wondering, why am I alone? And what's going on? I think I kind of want to see that for a couple more, a little bit later, because I want to berate you with some of the things that have happened before. I started the show with Trident after getting to a call with him around this time of December, the end of December. We got into a call and I told him, you know what? We're going to do a weekly show for the entirety of next year. Are you in or not? And he accepted, and he joined in the show, and he was there for a lot of the show, and he's still here to this day, ready to do an episode as long as he has the time. And we continued, and there was so much time we put into this show. A lot of people could say whatever they want about the quality of the show, but in reality, I was there every week, making sure that there was an episode out on Sunday for people to listen to. Every week, I made sure of that. And I did it, and I succeeded after the year was over. And when we got into the second year of doing the show, honestly, it was necessary to do because there were still a couple of people that needed to be, interviewed before we ended off this entire show. I also felt like it was just more so an obligation, more so than a passion to do the show. I think if we ended last year, we would have been perfectly fine, and the show would have been still edged. I mean, it's still here. It would have been still etched in stone as something that was done, because again, nobody had ever done a show like this before with as many people before. Most of the people that have done podcasts of Unturned, I guess, have all really failed after a couple of episodes and not continued on after that point. And to see us pass 60 episodes with just conversations that were about an hour long or even more is a lot, and was a lot on a lot of us. So again, thank you to all my co-hosts for putting up with all that. But again, like I said earlier, the reason why this show is no longer continuing is a couple of things, and one of them was the thing I mentioned earlier was, lack of passion. In July of last year now, I just really felt like not doing this show anymore. It really was I don't know. It was like I was moving through quicksand, and it just felt really kind of just not something I wanted to do. And I still pulled through, and I still got the rest of the guests that I needed to, I guess be a part of the show, on the show, and then ended it off technically. But it's kind of one of the reasons. It just felt I just didn't want to do it anymore. Second reason is more so just time. Like I said earlier, I was, for a whole year, I was there every either Saturday or Sunday recording these episodes. and putting them out for people to listen every week. And there was a lot of things that I was offered to do, with either that being friends or family, that had to be like, no, I gotta do this thing. And I never really told anybody what I was actually doing, but I just told them I needed to do this thing. And it's whatever they were offering was just something I didn't want to do. And that's a lot of time, especially when I was in high school when the show technically started, and was dealing with a really huge time constraint because it's your last year. So there's a lot of things going on in my life when the show started, and now it's ending. It's kind of plateaued a lot, but I'm done with this show when it comes to just giving it time anymore, because I felt like I want to do other things, and I really don't want to be constricted to being a person that does the Unturned Podcast. I've done this before in the past, where I used to do Unturned glitching videos, and I don't do that anymore, nor do I feel a need to do that anymore. I always get bored of the same stuff over, a certain course of time, and this is just another time where I feel that I need to move on. And I think it's best to move on as well, because I think I've done most of the things I wanted to do for the show, and no one can take this away from me. No one will be able to really say that I didn't do anything with this channel, because that's just a complete lie. And no one will be able to take away the time that I've put into the show. People can criticize the production value or how I edited these episodes or whatever. But at the end of the day, I did this show. I got the conversations rolling. I got people talking. And nobody else was really doing that. And I don't think many other people are going to be doing that in the future. Which leads into my next point. I'm really disappointed with a lot of things that have happened. A lot of people don't really know what goes on. More so in the inner scene where I was kind of residing, and that's why I was able to do my show, was because I was connected to so many people. Because everyone else was cool with each other. When I started the show. And right now, that's not the case anymore. You don't get to see a lot of the stuff that happens behind the scenes, the general audience, but it's really bad, When I started the show, everyone was pretty cool with each other, and now it's like everything has gone to hell, It's just really bad. And I don't feel comfortable doing this show anymore. Knowing that there's a lot of issues behind the scene, and I don't feel comfortable with putting people into this show anymore, because of how much stuff has been happening behind the scenes. I'm staying quiet because I don't really want to open a can of worms that I can't close for everyone. But just know that there's a lot of stuff that's happened behind the scenes that made me very uncomfortable with a lot of people, and also have made me very disappointed in a lot of people, because I really believe they had other people's best interests in mind, but I think that that's not the case, and that's clearly not the case. And eventually people will realize it, and I won't, people will just come back, oh, that's what he was talking about. Eventually you all will realize it. It's just a matter of time. And I don't feel comfortable doing the show with many of the community anymore, really, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to stay as vague as possible, but you probably understand if you are a part of the inner community of Unturned. You probably understand what I'm talking about. You probably know what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna leave it like that. I want to come back to the show maybe in 2 years, maybe 3. I don't know. I kind of want to be in the position where there's going to be more stuff to talk about and more things to do with Unturned. I see kind of, a brighter future for Unturned in that sense, because this has happened before. There's always going to be more people that come into the scene and try to, say or start something. And that's always nice, because at least I know that it's like a revolving door, this game kind of is. It's keeping some people, and the revolving door does keep some. But most people, cycle out after a while and go do real life things or do other things in the gaming space. And that's fine, It's just a matter of, more people entering that door and either staying or leaving. And I'm betting on, in the future, more people are going to be staying. There's been a lot of conversations of, I guess this is not really anything new. And I should clarify that this is not anything new at all, because I've been here for almost a decade now, and I've seen the same conversations be brought up again over and over and over again. And it's so tiresome. It's so annoying. It's so dumb. And it's funny that people think that they're saying something profound when, in actuality, this has been the same stuff that's been talked about for before they even showed up in the inner community or even showed up in the outer community. This is all things that have been talked about for years, and nobody seems to realize it. What I'm talking about is the concept that Unturned is dead. For so long, I've seen the same thing said over and over and over again. And that's not really just one group of people that says it. It's the entirety of the Unturned scene. It can either be from the Unturned YouTube side. I'll name drop a person, the Jers. I was talking to the Jers, and he was a person that's been around for a very long time as well. And he still brings up the point that Unturned is more so not... It has run its course, and it's a dead game. Which is something I berated him for in private, about that statement, because I think it was sort of ridiculous, along with the fact that he was also bringing up the fault of Unturned 4.0, which is also ridiculous, which is also something I'll go into a little bit later. But it doesn't matter, people in the, RP, PvP, curated content scene have all said that this game is dead. And it's so funny to me, if you think about it, that all these people, every walk of Unturned life that exists in Unturned, everybody says the same thing. It's so funny to me because when a game is actually dead, nobody talks about it. I'll bring up a game that was overhyped to death and that I see nobody talk about anymore. Sons of the Forest is another survival game. It was based off The Forest. It had 400,000 concurrent players at one point, and I think now it's barely getting 6K on Steam. Now Steam numbers are kind of weird, and they've always kind of been weird, but again, you want to talk about dead games? Imagine having that high of a peak and now being that, Really says something about, your game. When Unturned's been consistently had a similar amount of players over the years, even though people say that, the player numbers are incorrect or whatever, there's still players that still play this game and multiplayer and single player and do make content on the game. It's just a matter of, going out and finding it. But it's just annoying. And then people chalk up content creators leaving because they have to go do other things and, be a part of other things in real life or just move on to different content as this game's dying. And it's funny to me because you see the same people kind of treat this game like Minecraft in the sense that you could just start a Minecraft Let's Play and get decent views. So when I'm talking about decent views, 50 or 100 views, which is kind of ridiculous to think about. Unturned is not dead. It's just a lot of people really try to chalk up Unturned to be dead because they don't push the envelope at all. They just try to ride a coattails of something that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, like things that don't matter that people have seen over and over again. This isn't 2016, you can't be doing the same tactics from back then that got a lot of people successful and now established today. They can get away with it because they were there when that was, the meta. And then people chalk up that, this lazy and sloppy, mess of things that they've created as the fault of the game. And they're like, oh, this game is dead. Unturned needs to evolve. Everything needs to change. Unturned's the issue, not me. When Silver was under 1K subs and made almost I think it was a shit ton of views on a video. When he was under 1K subs on a video, mind you, that wasn't really satisfying to watch because it was just him failing an entire wipe. That was the video. And it still was successful. Cerati was able to make good content, just good content, and able to get crazy views on that. Knight Rider was able to make an entire cohesive piece about Unturned lore and was able to get crazy views on that. And you mean to tell me that Unturned is dead? I think the real problem is you. The majority of the time that I've been a part of this game and a part of this community has been you, the community. You all need to realize that the game is not the problem. It's you. You are the problem. Because you don't push the envelope. Because you don't seek what is actually good. You just complain about the game and don't want to innovate and do better than the people before you. People like MLBB, 2R Games, got successful off of Unturned. Do you want to know why? Because they pushed the envelope of what you were able to do in this game, with either making you laugh at the stuff that they were doing, or being informative with what was being added to the game. What do? You just sit there and make videos about complaining about Unturned? You make statements about how Unturned is dead and that this game is gonna collapse in a couple months. When it never happens. I've seen the same cycle over and over again, and yet you haven't seen it. And it's so annoying. It's so annoying. And the reason why this makes me so upset is because people, you all could make this game really great if you just tried. If you just did what you want other people to do, You can make this game great. People have made this game great in the past with either YouTube videos or, curated content that they've made. And the only person that's limiting that, progress for this game is you. And if you really think that this game is dead, and you really think that this game has no future whatsoever, and that it does not deserve your time, then why talk about it? Just leave. I don't want you here. You're just annoying. You're nothing. You're just annoying, and you continue to say the same garbage to everybody, and it makes people believe that there's actually a problem with this game, when the problem is you. There's been games that haven't gotten updates for decades, and people still play those games. You wanna know why? Because they actually had good communities. They actually have communities that push the envelope. They have communities that want to do better in that game. Oh, you want an example? Look at Melee. Melee has been beaten to the ground by Nintendo, and yet their community is still thriving because of the people who are behind it and wanting to push the envelope and want to do better in Melee. They've existed because their community wanted them to exist. You exist because you want to just tear down this game. And you want to tear down everyone else who's in this game. Just leave. We don't need you. You can do other things with your life instead of complaining about a video game on the internet. And you could say that likewise to me. And that's why I'm stopping the show. Okay? Well, one of the reasons as well. But I wanted to get that rant out of the way because it makes me upset. And it makes me really annoyed whenever I see a person just say, like, Unturned's dead. It's not the truth. And it's so cringy. It's become so cringy to me whenever I hear it, because it's such a nothing statement that has been said over years now. And every single time that something happens in Unturned, everybody says, this is the end for Unturned. People just go back to playing Unturned. Look at the movement update. Look at look at the rating update back in the day. I think about all these things that have made people leave and made people really angry. And I realize they come back, or people cycle in to take their place. It's a revolving door. And it's funny that Unturned's hit that point where the revolving door is going to continue revolving. And people can continue hating. And people want Unturned to fail. People want this game to be over with so they can move on. But the truth is, they can't move on. And you know what I see for this game in the future? I see greater pastures for this game and greater things to come from this game soon. Well, that was a lot of talking. I want to leave this to anybody that's actually listening and that just took anything I said to heart, you know? There's a lot of things we can do for this game, and I am tired of saying what to do, so I'm gonna start doing the do. So, if you find anything I've said interesting over the years, or found any of my co-hosts interesting, go in descriptions, go subscribe to them, and, subscribe to me if you found me interesting at all talking about these random unturned topics. Because nobody else is going to do it. Everybody else is going to be just complaining. It's a matter of just showing people that it can be done. And I believe that it can be done. Again, thanks for all the support over the years. I never did this show for money or notoriety. I did this show because I wanted to. And because I wanted to prove something. And I did. I did prove it. And I know that a lot of you want to prove something as well in this community. And I want you to go ahead and do it. Prove whoever wrong. Prove whoever the people that look down at you wrong. Make them regret what they said about you. Make them feel your presence and understand that, wow, I was completely wrong about that guy. And never let anybody tell you that something is wrong, or you should quit, or you should, be be somewhat disabled to do something. Just go for it, and you'll succeed. I know you all will. Again, thank you all for listening, and this concludes this episode of the Unturned Podcast, and I've been your host, Kukui Charles, for maybe the last episode to ever exist on this channel. Goodbye.